Manuj Aggarwal, the artificial intelligence ninja, the AI ninja. Very cool, moniker, nickname for him. I start the conversation off. By the way, he's spoke at the United Nations. He's created programs that Bill Gates has mentioned and Barack Obama has mentioned in their speeches. I mean, a real pioneer in AI. He's got 4 patents in artificial intelligence, but I love technology. I use AI almost every day. I'm real fascinated where we are and where it's going to go. That I open up with the question of when is AI going to be able to discern the difference between fact and non-factual? Because right now it's just an aggregator of data, right? It's just collecting all this data. You ask it a question, and it'll just reproduce what it's learned, quote unquote. But it doesn't know if it's right or wrong. So when is that going to happen? We start with the conversation there. We go back and forth a little bit because there are some absolutes. On this particular day, this happened. The earth is round, but there are some say that it's not. So, how will it be able to discern that? And then we talk about just where it's going and where we think it's going to go, and how it's going to affect jobs and disruption. We talk about when the car was first invented, all of the the people maintaining all the horses, all of a sudden, what's going to happen to them? What's going to happen to that whole industry? And of course, the car industry created millions of more jobs and different areas of specialties. And, these kind of disruptors, is AI going to be that? And we're really at the infancy stage of it, even though it's been around for decades. Great conversation with Manuj. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Manuj Aggarwal, thank you so much. Such a pleasure to talk to you. I appreciate your time today. How soon do you think AI will be able to tell the difference between factual and non-factual information?
The thing is that AI doesn't really care. I'll say one thing, like AI actually is quite dumb. So it only knows what humans teach it, and then it learns based on the algorithms and everything. So what a fact is, there is no such definition. But even between you and I, there is no such definition as a fact. Like what I think to be fact may not be a fact for you, because we have different life experiences, we have different way of thinking, different backgrounds. So it's very difficult for a machine to say what is a fact or not. It's basically what we say is, if majority of the people agree to something, that becomes a fact, right? So there is nothing inherent in the technology. It's all what we think is a fact is a fact.
But there are some inherent absolutes. On this particular date, Mount Vesuvius erupted, right?
Yes.
There are some actual absolutes. There's some historical, factual things. And some people will say, no, it actually didn't happen, when there's actual proof and evidence there was. So will there get to a point where it'll be able to discern the difference between an actual, scientific law, let's say, or an actual historical event?
Yeah. That is available. That has been around. So AI has been around for decades. It started in 70s. So when we create an algorithm, basically the way that it works is we feed the algorithm whole bunch of data, and we say, okay, find the pattern in this data. And if majority of the data says, okay, this is a fact, it'll learn that, and that capability has been around for decades. Now it is getting into the realm of like the gray areas, like the long tail sort of facts, where it's more about creativity, it's more about intuition, it's more about like that soft side of a personality, which now AI is able to discern whether this is right or wrong. The hard facts, I mean, that capability was has been around for decades.
But let's take the example of just the world, the planet Earth being a sphere. Okay,
Yes,
there's
yes,
photos, there's scientific evidence to prove this, but there are those who think that it's not. So the AI, again, it's very dumb. It's just scooping all this information together. At what point will it be able to understand that this is truth and this is not?
yes.
Because it has
So
an argument.
yeah, so that, as I said, that has been around for decades. Like, AI. If any AI algorithm that you work with, the way, okay, let me explain it again.
Hmm.
See, there are, let's say, 7 billion people on the planet. Let's say, maybe a million or 2 million people think that Earth is not round. That is like, a few glasses of water in an ocean, right?
Right.
So if the data is a whole ocean saying the earth is round, and a few glasses of water we pour in and say, oh no, the earth is flat, it's not going to make a difference at all,
Hmm.
because the overwhelming majority of the data says that earth is round. That is what the algorithm is going to learn based on the data. Now, if we take a sample of people, of data, only majority of the from the majority of the people who think the earth is flat, and we feed that data into AI, then
Hmm.
AI will think, oh, earth is flat. That will be its fact in that case.
Yeah, and I use the engines, the AI engines, almost every day, and a
Mm,
lot of times it comes out incorrect because, just like
mm,
you said,
yeah,
it's dumb. It's just gathering, and the big one that's out now only has information from 2021, I believe. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
number, and so a lot of times it's wrong. So I have to kind of go, and not a lot of times, sometimes, and you
yeah.
have to go and you have to do a little search. So that's only going to get better, I guess, is my overall
Absolutely,
question.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no question about it. In fact, I'll share an interesting anecdote. Recently, one person had some incident with an airline, and they decided to sue the airline, and they basically just took ChatGPT's help to create their case, and
Wow.
try to file that case as it is, like without even checking it. And it turned out ChatGPT gave them like 10 or 12 uh, relevant cases, similar cases where the passengers of airline got some reimbursement for their trouble. It turns out all of those cases were false, made up by
Wow.
ChatGPT, and the judge threw it out. So the idea is that you really need to fact
Hmm.
check, especially when you are dealing with high stakes situations. Well, illegal cases or financial
Mm.
stuff or whatever, you really have to double check what ChatGPT is saying. Now, if you're just writing an email to your, just like a creative work, low stakes situations, you can just get by and say, okay, this is a creative work. You don't have to do as much fact checking. But if you're doing some important work, you have to do fact check.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it gets into this kind of tricky area where, people who are feeding the AI start to feed it in a way that they believe. And there's some censorship goes there. And then all of a sudden it's repeating this information. And, this is kind of the danger that may happen.
Yes, yes, absolutely. This is another aspect of technology that we cannot get away from, because
Mm.
technology is only as good as the humans who made that technology, right? So I hear a lot of concern about, oh, AI is biased, data is biased. But then I ask people, do you think the world is unbiased? Do you think we
Mm.
are unbiased? If we want the data and AI to be unbiased, then the first order of business is we should become unbiased. Only then, only then AI will reflect us, right? It's a reflection of us.
Hmm. Yeah, you can't love until you learn to love yourself. This week, Wall Street Journal, I saw there was a case that opened up, or I might have got this wrong. Maybe you can get some clarity. I think it was Google who said that if their AI actually creates something that they get take responsibility, they get to own that property. I mean, this is a whole new area now. Now, if AI is creating stuff, who owns the AI and who gets ownership of that?
Yeah. See, whenever there is a new technology introduced, especially as transformative technology as AI, there is always a period of confusion where
Mm,
there are no regulations, there are no rules, and everybody tries to grab as much as they can. Now, Google, being Google, obviously they are going to create their own rules based on what benefits them the most. But AI is such a big transformative technology that um, there's going to be regulations. So there's
mm,
already draft legislation in Europe, in US, in Canada. So as things sort of, as the dust settles down, I
mm.
think there will be regulation um, to to sort of clarify all of these things. Second thing is Google has become a giant. Like it's almost like unbeatable right now. But
Yeah.
we have already proven that when the new innovation comes, then even these large companies, they get disrupted. So I have no doubt in my mind there's going to be competition to Google. There's going to be a whole bunch of other companies creating their own AI algorithms. So we will, as consumers, we will not be like bound by just using Google or OpenAI or ChatGPT. There will be other options available where we can say, okay, if we use AI to create something of our own, it belongs to us. Okay, because AI is basically a tool. Like if I go to Home Depot and if I buy a hammer and I make a closet, Home Depot cannot say, oh, that closet was made by my hammer, so it belongs to me, right? Like,
That's an excellent analogy, isn't it? Because it is just a tool, just like a
yeah.
hammer is a tool. Yeah. And so we talked about Google, like who owns like the biggest we're seeing these huge players now claim this technology and buy it, and Microsoft and Google, and then but it's going to open up, and even Elon Musk this week announced he bought a bunch of technologies, right? That's going to emerge there. But who's going to be the big players here? Do you have any forecast on that?
See, but so what happens is that when such a large technology is introduced, generally what happens is we start with a generalized version of the technology, meaning
Mm,
one size fits all. But slowly, what will happen is you will start to see AI for doctors, AI for accountants, AI for engineers. So there's going to be specializations of and versions of this technology. Just like you can take a automobile for example. When automobile was invented, there was only one version, a Model
mm,
S, right? After that, racing cars came in, the trucks came in, the family car, the van. Like there's going to be specializations of the products as the demand sort of diversifies, and we say, okay, we want something specific for our need, and there's going to
mm.
be companies serving those needs with their own version of AI. The basic concept is you collect all that data that is relevant to us, train the algorithms, and now the algorithm can help the human make better decisions, be more creative, create more whatever they are trying to create, right?
I definitely see that happening because I used it every day. Sometimes to get information, and just sometimes to see where I can take it. I
Mm-hmm.
one time I was like, how long will it take me to get to New York City? From here, and I am an AI. I do not know where you are. I don't know that. So it
Mm-hmm.
comes back and it
Yeah, yeah.
says, what it is. It's fascinating. You've got an incredible history, Manoj. You were at a factory making $2 a day,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're the AI ninja. Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, yeah. Well, going to that factory was an experience. Obviously, I had to work really, really hard, and it was it was really desperate times, I guess, like, but that's how you get to live, when you don't have a lot of options. So I was
Mm.
making $2 a day, working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And I really wanted, I mean, that situation really encouraged me to find something better in my life, something to improve my life. And then that that inspiration led me to find my love for technology and programming. And so this was back in 1995. So I saw that technology and computers are becoming more and more prevalent. So I saw, okay, if I am going to improve my life, this is the avenue that I need to pursue. And the fact is that I even if it was not rewarding professionally, I would have done it anyways, because to me programming and computers is so much fun, is like a
Mm.
hobby. So I kept going deeper and deeper and deeper into it. Plus I realized it's such a a cool way of helping people. You can basically write some program, put it on a floppy disk. Back then there was those floppy disks, and you just give it to
Yeah.
somebody, and then it solves their problem. That was really really cool stuff. So it was like a hobby to me. And as I was getting deeper, I came to North America, started working with hundreds of startups, started working with Fortune 500 companies, Microsoft, IBM, Pearson Education, built some global systems which impacted millions of lives, produced hundreds of millions of dollars. So the impact that I was able to create slowly using just my mind and keyboard, that is what drives me. That is what encourages me, because like you can do so much with technology.
Yeah, I share that same passion. We have very similar. My father, I'm in the States, and my father's an Italian immigrant and was a welder. And
Hmm.
he and I would work with him. And I just once a buddy of mine got back then. I'm a little older than you, in the '80s. We got an Atari 400, and then we taught ourselves the basic programming language, and that was it, Manoj. Right at that point, that this is my future. I have got this is what I want to do. I'd start programming, and next thing I know, I look outside and it's in the morning, right? The whole night went by, right? The
Yeah,
time would just whip right by. And this is what I want to do for my future. This is what I
exactly.
love. And just as those programming languages were so elementary, and just when the World Wide Web came out, not the internet, but the World Wide, it was so kind of basic, and that had limited functionality. That's where we are right now with AI.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's going to just keep growing and growing. Now you have 4 patents in AI. Can you tell us
Yes.
about that? That's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So those, so two patents are in healthcare, where we used computer vision algorithms and 3D printing and AI to help people with joint pains. So what happens is a lot of people have joint pains because of the way their feet are constructed. So
Ah,
some people have high arches, flat feet, and whatnot. So we created 3D printed custom orthotics, which can take some pictures of your feet and then create a 3D print an orthotic that goes into your shoe and then helps you. It provides support at the right pressure points under your feet, and then helps with joint pain. So those are two patterns. Another one is for personalized learning. So today, the traditional classroom, if you have like about 30 students in the class, every student gets the same curriculum, same lesson plan, same everything. But we know for a fact that some students are further ahead, some students are lagging behind. So they need a little bit like a personalized lesson plan, where if you are a little bit ahead, you can probably skip a few chapters, and
mm.
if you are a little bit further behind, you may need additional material to brush up on that topic. So this AI algorithm is sort of like a classroom environment, where any student that comes in, they get their own personalized plan, which runs according to their pace. And then another one is in education as well, where um, a lot of students in higher education institutions, they drop out of their university program in the first 2 years. As much as 30% of the students drop out, because they find that the topics that they picked were of no interest to them, or they are too difficult for them. So we created algorithms which matched the student with the right courses, so that they can find it interesting and easy enough to complete. And so the result of this algorithm was, a lot of students actually took 20% more courses than were required to complete their degree
Wow.
program. And so this program actually got mentions from Obama and Bill Gates.
That's right. Yeah, I wanted to
Mhm.
talk about that. That actually got
Mhm.
mentioned by them. That must have been
Mhm.
so exciting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you also spoke at the United Nations.
Yeah. So that was an interesting experience during the pandemic. A lot of there's a lot of talk about SDGs or ESGs, where this is from the Paris Accord in 2015, where all the nations in the world, they said we want to tackle climate change, we want to tackle equality, income equality, and those type of things. So I was invited to speak about the topic on how AI can be used for bringing equality into the world. And I
Mm,
believe AI will be a big um, factor in equalizing the playing field for everyone, because um, as you can imagine, opportunity is only available to limited amount of people, in terms of education, in terms of job opportunities. But with AI being available over the internet to everyone, that will really level the plane for people to bring out their ideas or be able to execute their vision in such a way that it doesn't require a lot of resources.
hmm. We talked about what AI is good for, these, accounting and healthcare. And is there any particular area where it's really not good? Doesn't
Well, I
help?
mean, see, again, any tool can be misused. We talked about the
Mm,
hammer. Like I can make a closet with it, or I can like really hurt somebody with the
right,
hammer. Take a car. I can go to the grocery store, or I can run over somebody. The
right.
idea is that the malicious person can use AI to do bad things. They can spy on people. They can plant viruses in computer systems. They can do all kinds of those things, right? But the thing is that we have to realize, we cannot be afraid of a technology. What we really need to rely on is the overall good of humanity, because
Mm,
in general life you will see that maybe 2 to 5% of people have negative intentions of harming somebody, but those intentions are counterbalanced by 95% of people who are trying to do good in the
yeah,
world,
for
right?
sure.
So there's always going to be this cat and mouse game between the
Mm,
the bad and the good. But we have survived so long because overall humanity is always thinking about the future, the benefit of how we can benefit our future generations, how we can improve our lives. So that is what I can say. But yes, of course, there's going to be bad uses. There's already bad uses. I mean, think about it. Like, our world is already so anxious, so on the edge, all the time, individually as well as a community, as a society. And the biggest factor in bringing about that stress, that anxiety, is AI today,
mm,
because all the information we consume today, you know talk about Facebook, talk about Twitter, all of these platforms, they are nothing else but a bundle of AI algorithms. And these AI algorithms are actually optimized to create sensationalism, because that leads to more clicks, that leads to more profits, that leads to
mm.
more wealth for these companies.
Yeah, and so we also need to talk about job disruption. There's so many people think, "Oh, AI is gonna take my job, and I gotta be careful there." Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. See, once again, like, uh, 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 we really need to focus on looking at history. What happens when transformative technologies are introduced? So when the car was introduced, everybody was concerned. What the hell is going to happen to all the horse
Horses,
cart,
yeah.
horse cart industry, people involved in maintaining horses, making these horse carts, and cleaning the streets? What is going to happen? But
Mm,
then, as the automobile became more prevalent, like, new jobs were created, right?
right.
Like, factory jobs were created, much higher paying jobs, much safer jobs, mechanics, Same thing with the internet. Before the internet came along, there was no such thing as web developer. There was
Right.
no such thing as search engine optimization engineer.
Mm,
When the smartphone came, there was no, before that there was no such thing as an app developer. So
mm.
the idea is that if you're willing to go with the flow and upskill yourself, you will find better paying jobs, more rewarding jobs, more interesting jobs, than the ones that you're doing right now. But people who do not want to go with the flow and do not want to upskill, they will suffer. I mean that, and this is no different than any previous time in history.
Yeah, the light bulb took out all the candle manufacturers, right? There's an endless amount
Yeah,
of examples there, and these days you often hear like in stores the self checkout, right? It's
yeah,
taking the cashier out. By the way, my solution for that is why not put some of those cashiers in some of the aisles to help us
yeah,
find
yeah,
those
yeah,
hidden
yeah,
aisles. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Why not? Why not? Because
Uh-huh.
so often you're looking, you can't find anything, and
Yeah.
get some information. But again, there's different ways of placing these people.
So I can speak to that. I think that will actually start coming back with AI, because you know what is happening. Humans have this innate qualities that are embedded in our mind because of evolution. We are social animals, right? We like to socialize, we like to stay in groups, we like to have conversations. With industrialization, what happened was everything went the other way, meaning we needed specialized skills, we needed engineers, we needed mathematicians, we needed professors. So everybody started building their life in a silo. But with AI now, those silos are getting dissolved, right?
Mm,
So to your point, um, with industrialization, we needed to like move fast, and we needed to say, okay, you are responsible for your life. Go find the stuff in the aisles, pick it up, and then the checkout cashier will help you. Now that work is being done by the machine, and now we will miss that human connection. you know
mm,
that these stores that you hear about, Amazon, you just walk in and you walk out, there is no human interaction. I don't believe, knowing about what humans desire, I don't believe that is going to work in the long term. Humans
mm.
will want to say, okay, I want some social connection, I want some human connection. So no matter how, just bring back that connection, whether in the aisle, whether in, just like as a greeter, whatever that is. And this will happen in every industry.
Yeah, certainly will.
Mm.
What do meditation and AI have in common?
Yes, yes. See, meditation basically is a way of thinking, and we have, generally, most people, 100% of the people, in my opinion, we have these stories that keep going on in our heads,
Mm,
like a record. And most of the time, again, this is because of evolution. Most of these stories are negative stories. Oh, what is going to happen if I don't do this? What will happen if AI take my job? Or all of these worries, they keep on repeating. And these stories are nothing else but taught patterns. We teach ourselves these
mm,
patterns because we want to be secure, we want to be, we want to be taken care of, we don't want to, you know we don't like surprises, if you will. Now, the problem is that we are not. Meditation is a great tool to fix that. You can start to observe your patterns, thought patterns, and you can also consciously start to change those patterns and say, okay, I don't know what I don't know, but today I'm okay. So stay in the present. Everything is good. But for a lot of people, when I talk to them about meditation, they tell me the typical response is, oh, I don't have time. So I tell them, if you don't have time, maybe that is more of a reason that you should meditate. But
mm,
then, we have resistance towards that. So then I started thinking, okay, see, AI is something that is basically a continuum of our human mind. Okay, so the way that we think is data for AI to learn, and the way AI projects that data back to us, that helps us learn further and expands our mind. So it's like a ping pong match between AI and the human mind.
mm,
Now, as I said earlier, platforms like Facebook and Twitter and all that, they create anxiety because of the way that they spread sensationalism, right? It is affecting our human mind. But
Yeah.
AI itself is not. There is nothing that's saying AI is negative. So I can use AI to create positive things and then plant it in my head. And now, if I'm surrounded by positive stories all the time, my mind starts to uh, experience a meditative effect. Okay, and for the listeners and you, you can try this cool exercise. So let's say you have a vision for something. Take something small. Let's say you want to achieve something in the next 1 month or so. Okay, it may be, going on a trip with your family. It may be, just having a great meal, a celebration, a party, whatever that is, right? Generally we are not able to express in detail what we want in that experience. Generally people, even even when you talk to people, what do you want in life, they'll say, oh, I want to be rich. Okay, what does that mean? Like, what do you
Mm.
want to do with that money? Most people cannot really express what they really want, right? They cannot visualize it. You go to chat gpt and you say to chat gpt, okay, I want to host a party with my friends in the next 30 days, and ask ChatGPT to write a detailed story about that, at least 2,000 words, as if it has already happened. I hosted a party in my apartment. I invited 20 friends. We had great food, blah blah blah,
Hmm.
and ask ChatGPT to write in detail what that experience was. Okay, and read that story to yourself every day for the next 7 to 10 days. You will
Wow.
be amazed what happens to your mind, and I won't be surprised that if it actually starts to manifest itself in your actual life, physical life.
That is a really, really great idea. And so you're going to give Chat GBT some of the parameters, and it'll go on and create the story.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And the thing is that we can visualize it much more clearly when our thoughts, our raw thoughts, are converted into an actual a word, a story, a scene that
Story,
we can
right?
visualize, right?
Hmm.
And that's what meditation is.
That's a really, really great idea. You know, I'm writing some essays right now, and I'm using some of the research from the podcast. And so I would get the transcript of the podcast, and I'd upload it to ChatGPT, and I'd ask it questions. So instead of hiring somebody to kind of do that research, it just comes right out. I
Yeah,
mean, this is the kinds of things that I can just turn around quick. That's
yeah,
what it's built for, right?
exactly, exactly, exactly.
You've got such great content, and you help business owners. You're on Twitter and TikTok, and you've got such great content. One of the ones I really enjoyed, you had three mistakes business owners make. It was a recent post, and using your gut instead of data. AI is not just for large companies, and data is too expensive. You want to talk about those? This is great. It was a great clip. Very, very, very excellent
Yeah,
points.
yeah. See, a lot of business owners, what business is about people. Business is about the environment. When we start a business, we are enthusiastic that we want to create something, we want to solve a problem. And generally what happens is, since we all stay in our head most of the time, we think that the first step is, what problem do I solve? And if I'm encountering a problem in my life, I tend to think, this is a typical entrepreneur, and I've gone through this cycle myself. So don't take it as me lecturing somebody, but this is just the fact of the journey that entrepreneurs go. If I come across an idea, I have a problem, I generally think, okay, the entire world has that problem. So if I solve that problem, everybody will buy from me. That is
Mm,
that is not the case at all. The next step is, how do I convey my ideas? Let's say, even if this is a problem that a lot of people have, how do I convey my idea to them such that it makes sense to them? And that again is a communication barrier. So all of
mm,
these things can be solved by looking at data, because most people think by their gut feel, and they say, okay, I've made this, I'm going to just go up to people and say, buy this product or service, and it'll solve your problem. And, I'll be a millionaire in no time. But the problem is, first of all, you don't know whether this is a problem that people face. You don't know what the messaging is. But if you rely on the data, if you take look at surveys, if you do some keyword research, if you talk to people and say, okay, is this a real problem for you? And then you collect all that data, and then you say, okay, based on my research, 60% of the people are saying that this is not a problem that they want to pay for,
Hmm.
right? Now, 40% of the people said yes, but they said, oh, this is not exactly my problem, but if you make a tweak to it, then I will be interested.
Hmm.
Now you are honing in into something, and you are like getting much closer to that bullseye where you will hit the target. So the next step will be, you take 40% of that people who were positive, but they gave you additional feedback. Now, if you can let go of your ego, if you can say, okay, I will be willing to make changes in my approach based on what the market is telling me, and then I will go back, I'll incorporate all that feedback, I will change the features, and then I'll go back to those 40% of the people, and also go back to the 60% of the people who said no initially, and then say, okay, what about this idea now? And if you get more positive result, then you are on the right track. I'll give you
Hmm.
an example. um, eh, Amazon Kindle, for example. Amazon Kindle is a very successful product, but in the initial months of their development, they actually just drew that Kindle on a piece of cardboard and took it around to people and say, "Hey, if we make a device like this and you can just read it, will you buy it?" And they made the tweaks based on that
Hmm.
cardboard. And now these, I mean, this is a very like crude example, but now there are specialized tools available where you can just create a prototype of what you are wanting to build. There are technologies like 3D printing, where you don't even have to make an actual product. You can
Hmm.
just 3D print us, like if it's a physical product, you can
Hmm.
3D print it, and then you take that concept to people and get that feedback. That data is what will enable you to hit the bullseye.
Hmm. Very interesting. So, Manuj, I mentioned before, when I started my business after college in technology in the early 90s, was working 16-hour days. You know what this is like.
Yeah.
And I wasn't paying attention to myself, and I wasn't exercising, and I gained a lot of weight. I gained 340 pounds. And the doctor said to me, if you don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So it's all I
Hmm.
needed to hear. So I took the next year and a half to, change the way I ate, exercise, etc. And I lost 130 pounds. And when
Wow.
people ask me how I did it, like there's some silver bullet or some secret, I just say discipline. I got focus and I got discipline. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life.
Yes, discipline is absolutely essential because I'll I'll I'll, I'll answer it in multiple parts. One thing, good results are are like amazing results. Whatever you want to achieve in life, they are a result of hard work and consistency. Most people think hard work is the only thing that is needed, but if you cannot sustain that hard work, then it's not going to produce the results. It's like playing music. Like, you can play two good notes and the rest of the music is like all over the place. It's not going to be pleasant to hear. But if you can play one good note on a consistent basis, even one good note creates a rhythm, right? So you have to figure out in we have to figure out in our life, what is the level of effort I can make. It doesn't always have to be killing ourselves working 16 hours a day. Even if I can put in 2 hours a day, which is very, very hyper focused, but I
Mm,
can do that on consistent basis, that creates more results than creating like these spurts of, like really hardcore, overnighters, or 16 hours days. So what we need to do is we need to create measure our own capacity to do work on consistent basis, and then get disciplined. Because as human nature goes, we may lose motivation, we may not feel like getting up, sleeping in, not going to the gym, not doing whatever needs to be done for self care, for taking care of other people, for spending time with family, whatever gives us happiness, true happiness. at the end of the day, that's what we are looking for. So if we get disciplined around that, and we say, okay, this is how I'm going to spend my time, this is how I'm going to start my day, this is how I'm going to divide my day between the activities that are important to me, and I will stick to it no matter what my situation is. That's what brings the result, the best results possible.
Mm. Yeah, very interesting. And I wonder how in AI, how discipline is going to make a, AI doesn't know what discipline is, right? It just it's being taught whatever it's being fed.
Mhm.
It's going to be very interesting to see how that rolls out.
Well, I think most likely what AI will help us do is become more disciplined, because
Ah.
the problem is that we, again, we say, okay, I went to the gym yesterday, I'm feeling so tired today, just like, let me just sleep in today. But imagine a robot, like a AI enabled robot, who comes in and says, he gives you some motivation in the morning, say, hey, I know you're feeling tired, but if you don't get up, this is what's going to happen. So how about you
Mm.
get up? And or you can program AI to say, okay, if I don't wake up, just pour a glass of water on my face and make me disciplined, right? Because the thing
Hmm.
is that, you will see, like, all the great achievers in the world, Olympic champions, everyone who has achieved something, they have a coach, they have a mentor. And the coach is not going to listen to your excuses and say, okay,
Mm.
coach, I can't, I'm not feeling like today. The coach is going to kick your butt and say, okay, I don't care, unless you are really sick, you need to be in the gym at this hour, or you are off the team. And
Mm.
so another human being is really instrumental in helping us become disciplined, right? Same thing, going to the school. If you don't go to school on time, if you don't get into the class in time, the result is you're going to get a negative grade or whatever. So uh, another entity outside of us plays a big role in helping us become disciplined. And so AI can be that person, if you need it to be.
So you're suggesting that AI will keep you accountable?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Hmm. I never
humans
I
are
never thought of
humans
that.
are yeah, humans are fickle, like,
Yeah,
we just need a stimulus or somebody to, like, talk to us.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just a thought. It's just like our mind is not like, is not something which is objective, solid. It's very fluid, it's very,
Right.
malleable. You just need a conversation to say, okay, I changed my mind now.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very I never even considered that before, but I guess that yeah, that is true. Fascinating. Manuj Agrawal, what motivates you?
What motivates me is that I see the potential of opportunity. In fact, I'll share my crazy mission in life is to help 20 people win the Nobel Prize
Wow.
with the use of AI. And that's what motivates me, because that has the potential to change many people's lives, impact many people's lives, and also really demonstrate the power of technology and how it can transform human life on this planet.
You're going to help 20 people get the Nobel Prize with AI. That's an incredible goal. How did you arrive at that?
So I'll give you a quick explanation, and it is related to what we just talked about, right? So if you observe, most Nobel Prize winners, they are very introverted people.
Hmm.
Okay, they're very focused, and they spend their entire lifetime working in their lab or in their
Hmm.
basement.
Hmm.
And I used to be one of those people, and you said that you used to be one of that
Yeah.
person. Now, the other fact that I realize, hard work and having talent and doing all these things are great, but in order to achieve big things, you need relationships, you need people who can help you, guide you. And this is all related to our previous conversation. And typically, when I observe Nobel Prize winners, they are so introverted, most people don't even know who they are. So what I experienced in my life was that I used to think that, I'm a factory. I used to be a factory worker. I became a software engineer. That is a huge achievement. I am done now. Like, this is the peak of my achievement. Then I became an executive of a company. I was like, wow. I mean, I didn't even realize I had that potential. So, okay,
Mm,
now I'm done. Like, this is the peak of my career. And then I got invited to speak at the UN. I'm like, what? Like, how is this possible?
mm,
The point is that as you develop these relationships, you start to realize how much potential you have. You start to expand those boundaries, and you start to do things that you were not even thinking that were possible for you. So
hmm,
with AI, you can help people create these communities, create this sense of their like empower them in and help them become more extroverted, if you will, right? um, and that's the difference between winning something and being in living in anonymity, right? So
mm.
if this is my observation about life and humanity. Like, if I work with 100 potential candidates who have the potential to win a Nobel Prize, and if I work with them on along these lines, I can guarantee 20 of them will definitely win the Nobel Prize.
Wow. Wow. That is really, really incredible. That's a wonderful, wonderful goal. And how do you measure success?
Well, I mean, okay, so um, the idea was for this whole concept came to me during many of my meditations. So as I said earlier, like, when I started looking at what is possible for human life, I said, okay, what does that mean? What kind of impact can I make? And then again, as a scientist, as an engineer, I want to create measurable goals, like something that I can wrap my head around.
Yeah.
So if I just say, okay, I want to help a lot of people, that doesn't mean anything. Like,
Mm,
like, what does
mm.
that mean? How do I help? So, and the other thing is, like, I want to make it uh, something that is small enough that I can say, okay, like, I don't have any aspiration of becoming like a politician or something along those lines, right? So it's like, okay, how do I stay in my technology lane and business lane, work with a few people, right? Not a huge amount of people, and still be able to create an impact. So now, we all know, if you take one Nobel Prize win, that obviously impacts millions of people in itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So if I help 20 people, that creates an impact. The ripple effect of that is a huge impact on the world. But for me, I just need to worry about like maybe 100, 200 people,
Hmm.
and then it creates a ripple effect, right? So that is my that is my sort of lazy rationale behind this.
That's absolutely wonderful. Do you know any Nobel Prize winners, laureates?
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of what happened. Like, this is where the power of the mind and manifestation comes in, right? So when I think I got this sort of uh, inspiration almost at the beginning of the pandemic. So I was attending a very large meditation ceremony, and there were about 1,000 people meditating simultaneously. So that was a very powerful experience. And after that, I got this, like, sort of inspiration that, okay, this is what's possible. And I think it was about 6 to 8, maybe within a year, I was invited to speak at the UN, and on the panel was one of the Nobel laureates from Bangladesh. His name is Muhammad Yunus. So it's like, the universe starts to show you the signs that, okay, you are going on the right direction. So
Mm,
after that, I've been meeting many more people from the
wow.
from that world.
Fascinating. I was so excited when you accepted this, Manuj. I've been very excited to talk to you. AI is it's huge, not just in our technology industry, but it's going to affect every industry. It's going,
Yeah,
and we're
true.
really at the infancy stage, even though it's been around for decades. But it's really, I mean, the Chat GPT. I don't mean to keep harping on them, but it's the most not successful, but the most first month, largest adoption, quickest
Exactly.
adoption. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get bigger. How can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best way is find me on LinkedIn, Manuj Aggarwal, or you can go to my website. It's the same manujagarwal.com. But LinkedIn is the best place to find me.
Manujaggarwal, Manuj
Yeah,
Aggarwal. And I'll make sure to put it in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time. If I'm in the great Northwest there, I'll make sure to look you up and we can have a cup of coffee.
absolutely, absolutely.
You be well. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information. The video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations.